Hello, Grey Couch family. This is Stanley, and
Tito.
we wanted to get your input on a question that we've been talking about.
And it has to do with children, right? Should you spend more time with your kids or
Spend time working on your marriage, your relationship.
And we're doing this because this has been Autism Awareness Month. Thank you to the Lawrences who came to talk to us about if you are parenting a special needs child. But today we're just talking generally, right? When you're with parenting.
So backstory, I wanted to do something special for Otito for a surprise for her birthday, a trip. But then the kids were still in school.
They weren't.
And well, this would have been the first time we traveled across the border without the kids in what?
13 years. Yeah.
And we had done a lot of short trips without them, and with the help of community, we were able to manage watching them. But which was going to be much further and for a longer number of days. And then there's also the question of child one's allergies, child's two idiosyncrasies, and what have you. So we did get away eventually, had a great trip. And when we got back, it was like the kids didn't even miss us. We got that, oh, so you're back kind of look, And so we just wanted to explore more into that, as in, what's that? We've heard of work-life balance. So this is
child-life balance. Especially
balance.
because we are coming from a culture where you hardly saw your parents. Like it was just not a thing. Children were meant to be seen and not heard, right? Yeah. I mean, not to say that's the best. I think now many of them will probably be called, who you would say parental abuse, or what's the word you're looking for. But the idea being that now we're in a culture, right? So we're not necessarily saying what happens in America happens in all of the Western world, but it's just we're in a place where it's almost like there's so much around the nuclear family. So you have this essentially isolated units, right? That are not necessarily coexisting with a larger community. So then it becomes you and your children alone. I mean, you may have nannies, you may have help here and there, but fundamentally it's just you and your children. And what then happens is it's almost like your life begins to revolve around them, right? In that sense.
So is that why they say, at least in America, a lot of the studies show that people with kids, there's like a dip in marital happiness after the kids come, and there's more happiness as a single person or just married without kids, or after you become an empty nester and the kids have left out because of this nuclear concentration.
Yeah, which is interesting because we're in a culture where people believe that children should be like a source of ultimate happiness, right? In terms of, as Christians we say be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth and all that, but these are the parts that people don't necessarily talk about. The fact that the everyday humdrum of just trying to raise these children up in the right way, right? In the way that they wouldn't depart from. That can take its toll on a person's just,
True. And
mental health, I would say.
And then what of the whole shift in just generations ago from the child-centric focus to now the career-centric or me-centric type thing, whereby it's not just, then for the people that want to be traditional, there's this guilt trip that, I should be spending more time with the kids as opposed to my career and what have you.
Yeah. I don't know, in these days of helicopter parenting, I think there's even more pressure, right, for you to be the perfect parent. But what happens, there's only a finite amount of time, right, in a day, in a week, in your life for you to be able to say, I'm going to focus fully on a career and fully on the children. And so there's this pressure, right? Again, within the American context, right? There's the pressure of wanting to parent perfectly and also wanting to be, a person who is also achieving everything on the career ladder. So it's like the myth of trying to have it all, right? However, you do know that this is a bit gender, skewed, right? Because it's the women who traditionally would hold on to more parenting roles, or doing more when the children come and still trying to work, right? The males don't necessarily have that push-pull, right?
But I tend to maybe traditionally before, but in more recent times, men, guys, we've picked up a lot more of the slack. We're more involved in our children's life than our parents were.
Yeah.
So I mean, even though the women still carry the bulk of it all, I mean, that men.
Thanks for saying that.
No. Yeah, but I do.
That.
I do want to say, there are some dads out there. They know more about the homework. They take the kids to the games and things like that. So you can't just say, that it's only the women these days.
I didn't say that now. Did you hear me say that?
That's what I heard.
I said it's skewed. Skewed does not mean 100% now. It's skewed. As in, you also said that that the women bear disproportionately more of the burden of still being a career person and still trying to handle the children. But that's not even the what's the word? That's not the full gist of today. The gist is, what do you then do, right? When the children come, what do you do to maintain relationship while parenting them? Yeah, so children require a lot of time and attention, right? Regardless of what we're saying that our parents did for us, we know that children require time and attention. They require that nurturing environment. So it's our responsibility. As we've brought them into the world, we then need to nurture them intentionally and consistently, right? Being their best advocates and their, cheerleaders. Times have changed, so I do believe parenting skills, and requirements have changed. There are times when I just think, Kai is where you just say, oh Lord. That's, how much intention does it take day in, day out, right? But I know that we are raising children who are going to live in a vastly different world from where we are. Look at how much chaos ChatGPT has caused already, right? But at the same time,
marriages need nurturing too, and you only have so many hours in a day, and we haven't given those kids. Thinking that we haven't given those kids enough of our time already. We have less time to ourselves, less time with each other. There's always more homework, more laundry to do. That's if you don't have someone at home helping you, of course.
The truth of the matter is that you want to hear it from the horse's mouth, right? Like, children are very honest, they'll tell you. So, there are researchers who have gone asking the children, and I think it was an Ask the Children survey by Dr. Galinsky, and she said when they asked the children, right, that if they were granted one wish, what would they want? And for many of them, it was just to not have their parents so stressed, because the stress bounces back on the kids, children, right? If you're stressed, you're going to be yelling more, you're going to be more short-tempered, less patient. It's just not a good equation.
Funny thing is that in that same study, 60% of the parents believe that their kids would say they want to spend more time with their parents, but it was interesting because, like you say,
because even if it's a short time, if it's a time of rejuvenation and play, like, children would take that over a mother being at home but yelling and stressed out, all the time. And so I guess the question now becomes, how do you then balance the rules, right? Balance the two things. So a
reversal of gender roles, like we're kind of talking about that, as in, so typically we were saying earlier on, whereby the mother takes the bulk of the load in terms of nurturing, taking care, making sure that, and there's a tendency to cut down on work. Yes, smiling now, yes, but And then the fathers, we pick up some slack, but we tend to stay in that safe breadwinner role.
You can say that again.
So I mean, if first of all to kind of pick up on where the ladies and switch roles for a little bit will help paint a picture of what's going on the other side.
Yeah. This is so interesting because I do know people on both sides. Like I know people who are so involved, like everything with children and all that. So you don't need to tell them this, right? So the question now becomes that middle, the people who could be moved in one direction or the other will be the people that you're talking to. Those are the ones who just believe everything is fine and dandy. Why do I have to do anything else that is different, right? But another thing that we have discovered works for us just in our own marriage group that we run, right, is to have this conversation with other parents, because the stressors are real, right? So if you're able to just break it down with other parents, not in a woe is me complaining mode, but just, hey, this is the challenge that I'm having, with this child or with this or with that. Or sometimes it's just everybody comes down with some virus, right? Things like that. If you could just have the space to be able to, just air out those minor, I would say, frustrations, right, with other parents that are in the same boat, that would really help. And this is where I want to say sometimes I feel like that's where social media doesn't help you at all, because either people who have passed your parenting level, right, in terms of their children are grown and they can't even remember, or there are people who are just in the thick of it who cannot see beyond, them and their children, and that's not what you want. You want a balance, right? You want a person who can say, hey, this is how it really is, but it's not always like this, right, in that sense. So again, as humans, we just need some degree of commiseration. I remember one of my favorite authors, she's like, everyone should have a wine Wednesday. Not wine as in WINE, but wine as in wine all the whining you want to wine on Wednesday, but know that Thursday is a fresh day. Nothing. You get back to work, And I just was like, this is great, right? Because you can only complain so much. If they left you to say complain all day, even you'll be tired of complaining. That's just the truth I tell people, right? So it's a balance.
I think another interesting nugget will be no guilt trips when you take some time off for yourself with your spouse.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we're talking alone. Yeah. I don't know who we're talking with. Couple we're talking recently. We're talking about how on this time we're not talking about kids, we're not talking about budget, and we're not talking about this. It's just you, me. There's a tendency to this guilt trip as a devoted parent. You want to give all of your presents to your kids, as much as possible. And so there's this guilt trip that this little time I have, wouldn't it be better spent with the child himself? But I mean, I guess it goes to that if you spend that time and your relationship happen, it will rub off on the kids.
So a stable home life, like I feel, right? Because sometimes when we're talking about parenting and taking time for yourself, we're also recognizing that children are being raised in homes where there's only one parent for whatever reasons, right? And so that situation of being able to take time for yourself where you can afford it, right? And by afford, I don't necessarily mean money, and I feel like sometimes that's the first thing that comes to mind. But if your child is in school and you have some shift job, as an example, right, you could literally take 20 minutes and just take a walk outdoors in nature, right? Something like that. I'm just saying you can carve out a little time and say, this is my time, right? The child has been put on the bus, whatever. Like, just pockets in the day. And I think that's kind of that's the, rejuvenation of self. And if you're with your partner, of the partner, that then, that helps add life, I would say, right? That just all those little things over time, incrementally, give you margin. Yeah.
So there you have it. It's a heavy conversation, but I think one that we need to have, considering all the stressors that is going on in the community today. So what we said, not work-life balance now, but child-life balance, and that child
if you have
and your life balance.
Because parenting doesn't end, right? Once they come into your life. Yes, there might be a season when they'll be away, but it's, you know, back and forth. But obviously you can tell that we are right in the messy middle, and those will be the people that we're most relating with, right? If your child is in college or working, a different dynamic, right, in that sense. So so if you're in a place where you have young children, right, elementary, middle school, kindergarten, you are the ones that we are talking to. We're there with you, right? Consider us part of the parents that you can talk with and talk to, and then we'll see how we can ride this season of life, or this wave, together,
to the
fullest. To the fullest. So without compromising on the relationship between the partners, right, parents.
I was going to say that next month is Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, yeah,
Mother's Day.
Mothers.
I shouldn't say Mother. I'm already thinking of Mother's Day. We have an August guest.
Surprise. I am so looking forward to next month. I hope you can sit with us, because we're having 2 generations at the same time. So exciting, like so exciting.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe from Our Couch